Hello fellow Ultimates, this is UIM Shen, and this is a little bit of a narration over challenge mode. I've had a lot of people asking about challenge mode, and I figured I'd make a video with a more narrated guide with kind of like mindset while I'm going through the raid and whatnot. So the first thing to mention is there's two strategies that UIMs follow when doing challenge mode. Strategy 1 is you drop at the first prep and then do the raid and then go back up after you finish the raid and you pick up your items off the ground. Strategy number 2 is you just simply do the raid with slightly less items, so you won't hit as hard, but then when you finish the raid you don't have to run all the way back up to the first prep area. I prefer dropping at prep. It is risky because if you disconnect, you lose your items, but it loses a couple minutes a raid because you have to run back. But overall, I think it saves time due to the consistency of having the extra brews and having the extra items as well. If you are going to be doing the full run without dropping, I would probably bin the Major Arena 2 cape. I would definitely bin the bludgeon, and then probably bin the super combats, and then just pre-pot at the Warriors Guild every raid. That would give you effectively one more item when you're going through the raid, because you would have to have the noted staminas and the construction cape on you, and then you wouldn't have the Major Arena 2 cape. But it's not too big a deal. I'll just be showing my strategy because I find it a lot more comfortable, and when you're doing this for hundreds of hours, comfort is the #1 priority. Once you've gone ahead and geared up, which I'll show at the end because it's pretty simple, go ahead and venge and pre-pot. I sip a dose of stam and the super combat. Put on preserve when you sip the super combat. And I keep my mage gear on when I'm running in, and I make sure my staff is on whatever this is, on long range. And then I make sure my hammer's on accurate while I'm running in. You want to lose 1 tick when you're going into the raid. Oops, not 3 ticks. Okay, I'll have to wait on tech now because I suck. So he'll take an extra tick to come off the anvil. I go ahead and hit him once while he's coming over, put on my hammer, and spec. I don't usually reset for hammer specs. Luckily, I just hit both, which is pretty rare. That's nice. So hopefully this is a bit more comfortable than a standard raid. I'll then hit my venge usually on this corner, and then venge again. And then between cycles, just eat to full. The reason I make these these pizzas is because they heal quite a bit more than the potatoes, and that ends up mattering a bit here. Hopefully it hits my venge. I like to make sure I pick up the cape as well. That's partially why I like to eat so early. As you can see, it's real nice bringing the bludgeon because it just kind of destroys tech. And that's, again, one of the benefits of doing the dropping strategy is you can have these much more consistent tecton times and not feel like you have to reset for hammer specs, which is nice. Hope I get this venge back soon. And I might be able to kill with just a nice venge plus hit. I believe the max hit's 84 on the red phase, and it's a bit lower on orange. I think it's like 70. So just be careful you don't die, obviously. Unless you need to, because sometimes dying is viable here. Like right here, for example. If I die, it's fine, because I'll kill with venge. I'm going to go ahead and just take the death just to do the route that I would do if I didn't have the Sang Staff. With the Sang Staff, I'll typically heal enough. But if you're below 50 HP, you can't overload, so you'll just take a death to get your HP back. I'll just show this because relying on the Sang Staff isn't something that most Ultimates will want to do. But typically I'll just use the Sang to get my health back. But yeah, once you're through tech, put on your mage gear. You want to pick up one of each potion. Don't bother picking up the mushrooms unless you're doing the Vital Vigor route, which I'm not showing, but that's like an entirely different video. And then when you're running in here, go ahead and sip the Overload, put on Pray Melee, sip the Enhance, and click on the crabs. Just lure them over. Of course, it gets stuck on the corner, so I'm not going to be able to get it. I'm pretty bad at crabs. I don't do like an efficient route here or anything. The other thing to mention is if you have a Sang, it's really good to get high HP for Ice Demon. The main reason for that is Venge damage is pretty big there. So I'm trying to get to higher HP if possible. And then once this guy's here, you just smash him right at the end. You can scam a little sneaky staff in there sometimes and try and get some health back. And then off to scavs. I kind of like to organize the inventory a bit here. I'm going to be dropping these 4 items at Ice Demon, like I mentioned. So I like to put them near each other at the bottom. Nice, got 10 more health back. I'm killing scavs for 1 single juice drop. That's all I need for the raid. So after I get 1 juice drop, I am done. I'll head on into Ice Demon. It usually isn't too bad, but you'll have raids where it takes a while sometimes. This is on the slower end so far. Alright, now that I've healed the fool, I'll melee for the rest. Yeah, this is honestly pretty unfortunate. It's, I think, 1 in like 2 for them to drop juice. Okay, that wasn't terrible. So I grab my juice, I sit my stam while I'm running in here, and I drop the 4 items I won't need anymore. And grab my tinderbox, and I run over here and grab my axe. And I run to this tile, and I drop everything that I don't need for the room. Only drop stuff that you're willing to lose, as I've hopefully mentioned at some point. I don't care if I lose any of the items on the ground. The only place I'm using the Abyssal Bludgeon is challenge mode, so if I lose it here, who cares? And then obviously there's nothing in this pile that I care about losing. That's why I'm like not dropping my assembler or my like imbued cape or anything like that, even though they aren't like too hard to get back. I just don't feel like losing them to an untimely disconnect. I've lost 2 assemblers here already, and I don't want to go and grind it again. You'll need about 50 kindling. It's a little bit less. I think it's 48 that you need. 47, 48, something like that. Only dump it in one of these. Don't use like 2 braziers, because if you do that, it gets kind of complicated because you need to get over a specific amount in each one at the same time, and if you use 2, it ends up just being slower than if you spam dumped into 1. It's a little bit weird, but it's much better to just use 1. And 4 inventories, or 5 inventories is like almost always enough. Unless you have a lot less space than me, but I would be pretty surprised. I bring a lot of items. Not too much left to drop. I should mention, when you're learning, it's totally reasonable to bin the imbued cape. It's not that useful here. It just saves blood runes, so I bring it. When it gets to about here, just always dump whatever you have, because it's about to come out. And then when I'm picking up my stuff, I always look in the top right. You can see the mini-map at the yellow dot. Once that starts moving, you know Ice Demon's coming out. So that's typically what I'm looking for. Go ahead and organize here as much as I can. I'm going to be dropping a bunch of items later. There comes Ice Demon, so I go here, put my hammer on accurate and spec. Trying to take some Venge damage, because I'm about to get a free Overload heal. Unfortunately, they hit me pretty low on the Venge. And go ahead and sip your pots, take off your boots. For the Prayer Enhance, these 4 doses, you're going to sip 1 for Crabs, 1 for Ice Demon, which lasts you in the Shamans. You'll sip 1 for Vanguards, and you'll sip 1 for Vesp. So that's where you use the Prayer Enhance. And then this Overload is a lot more simple. You typically sip 1 for Crabs, and then sip again when it runs out here at Ice Demon. The one you sip at Crabs is just for points. You could totally just wait and sip it here. But it's also nice to sip it at Crabs because it lets you be overloaded for the Scavengers. And then also, if you're lucky, you can get some of your health back. You can get some of your health back from the Sang Staff if you have one. So that's another reason why it's nice to use it there. Yeah, Ice Demon's pretty standard. There's nothing too special about it. Just the typical methods you'd use. For Shamans, I like to just let this one jump. I just chill in the entrance. It, like, almost always jumps. And then just run to the corner. It'll always safe spot. I run to this tile that I have marked first and then to the corner. That makes it so the Shaman never hits you with the Acid Blob because this is 3 tiles away from where I am now. So the blob will hit here and then I'll be standing here safe spotting. It's just safe to run to that tile and then run here. That way you don't get owned. And then this guy is nice and easy right into this safe spot. Possibly, he just moved at a really awkward time. Okay, annoying, but it's whatever. I'll just let him jump here. I was about to say, he may jump here, which is annoying. I should have walked to the exit, but I thought I was killing with that attack. It's not that big a deal. Alright. So I just drop my anti-poison just in this doorway here, because I'm not going to need it. And then I make sure I put on these 3 items again, so I have maximum space. Grab a seed dibber, and then plant your seeds as soon as you can. And then after you plant the seeds, grab a spade. I go ahead and drop the seeds and the seed dibber. You'll never need them again. And I drop these 5 items here just to make space. Depending on how many items you have, you'll know how many brews that you need to bring downstairs. I'm bringing 5 down, so I make 7. And the reason I make 7 is I chug 2 of them here to get to full HP. And then that gives me 5 when I go down. You may have more or less. I don't know what inventories everyone else will have, but this is what I do. And then I also just make one immediately, so I can just chug it while I'm picking the pots and making the first batch. And this also just lets my overload recharge my stats while I'm doing this. Let's grab 2 more. Nice. So now I have my 6 brews. I'm going to drink my overload, drop the Endarkened juice now that I've made everything, and then just chug one of these while I'm picking up my items. If you're just starting out, you can leave the axe and just kill scavengers before Mother Dial. I just prefer bringing the axe with me because that's RNG and I don't like to do that, but you can leave the axe and get one from scavs later. And then you don't have to sip the restore. Your stats will usually get pretty high by the time you get down to Vangs, but I usually just sip it so my prayer's high. And then once I'm here, I drink the Prayer Enhance, and then I click to this upper tile, and I get Mage and Rigor on, and then prepare to bow the Major. So I hit whichever one spawns on me with the bow, and then if it's the ranger, you just run under it. If you get a big hit on the mage, just kind of hit the meleeer and waste a bit of time. Always claw spec as soon as you can. And then I kind of need to deal some damage to the meleeer. It's a bit high, so we'll get on that. From here, it's just pretty much typical Vanguards, nothing too special. Get used to the safe spots, and also pay attention to where the meleeer spawns. So for me, the meleeer spawns southeast, so I know the... for example, this will be a meleeer safe spot where I am right now, so I can take my prayer off. It's just nice to know the safe spots and get used to that. Go ahead and try and get some damage on the mage. Let me just make sure that's good enough. Yeah, I can get one more hit there. Okay, that's all the damage I'm willing to do. Let's get back on the ranger. I'm still good to get one or two more hits here. Get back on the ranger now, or the major. Yeah, Vanguards is pretty easy. It's probably one of the rooms that you can get the best at, like with practice, but it's not too complicated overall. I'm going to play this safe. I think the ranger is not ready to kill, barely. I could have probably killed, but I wasn't sure, so I just chilled. And I like to just kind of organize my stuff throughout the room. Okay, should be totally fine now. I will say at some point you want to drop some of your stuff over by the exit. I try and drop 4 brews over here if I can. And the reasoning for that is after Vanguards are done, you're going to run back and pick up some stuff. It just makes the bottom bit a lot more consistent. Oh, I didn't even have a claw spec yet. Grab the overload, grab a revite. You really do want to get a revite here. If you get a revite, you can kind of just chug this one down to 1 dose. And you're going to grab all the brews that you can. You'll only need like 6 to be totally set, but... Okay, I'm totally going to just claw spec this guy out as soon as he comes up. Good. At least it went down. And then when you're running through here, organize as best you can and sip your first sip of stam. You might not want to do that if you're using the Bow of Fahrenheit because you might not have enough stamina. And then I like to drop the pre-pot potions on that tile and then drop everything else to just get max space. If you get poison chest in one of these 4 chests, this one will also be poison. So you'll have to use a different safe spot. The bats will be in either this cluster or like down here. That's if you get poison in those first 4. So I'm gonna have to use a different set of chests. I'm not gonna bother grabbing the bats, but if you have the bat finder, it's not too hard to know where they are. You need 30 grubs in a solo. The way that I do that is I look at my score. I see I'm at 13.1k, and I just add 3,000 to that. So I am done when I see 16.1. It can make it easier than counting, and then, you know, I keep like a mental note of how many I have, and then I just use that to like double check. I'm gonna go ahead and run back and pick up my 4 brews. This just makes it so you can pre-pot everything and just be super full on supplies heading to Vesp. Because like I said, this isn't about speedrunning, this is about just consistent under time challenge modes. Okay, so we're at 21 now, so we're getting pretty close to done. Just need to grab a couple more. I usually try to dump around the time I get to like 24, 25, somewhere in that range. So I'll go ahead and dump here. So like I said, I'm at 13.1, so I need to see 16.1 to be done. I think I had 27. Alright, so I need any amount of grubs and I'm done. So I grab the overload here just so I can pre-pot when I can. And I think, oh, that was poison. Then you hit this one and this one here. So any amount of grubs will finish. Kind of having a hard time getting these last two. This is pretty typical of thieving, honestly. Yep. There we go. Sip the overload, start chugging the brew, and pick up all your stuff. And then when you're running through, make sure you put your range gear on, make sure you pray melee, and then set up your quick prayers so that it is redemption plus rigor. And then I like to organize while I'm running through here. It's just kind of helpful, like long term. Take off your boots if you have space. And then I sip a brew every 15 if I have enough brew sips still, which I do right now. I don't want to fall below this being a 1 dose. I want to keep this 1 dose or higher if possible. So I only usually sip it 2 or 3 times. And then I can sip the Revite once. So I can do 1 Revite sip. Alright, and now I'm at the mercy of the Prayer Enhance. That's classic. If you aren't comfortable pray flicking at Vesp, it's a little complicated using the Enhance. I am having a hard time right now. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Make sure you put on all your stuff so you have maximum space. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to full HP just because I messed up a lot. Like I mentioned, you don't want to drop below the 1 or the whatever 1 dose left. So I won't be quite at full HP for the rope cross, but it shouldn't make a difference. You're usually pretty safe. You can fully kill everything at rope. It's like not that much slower. I just don't kill the mages because I don't care about points. I just want to get the dust and get on. So I will be skipping the mages. That's also most of the reason why I bring the Elysian. It's really helpful here. The full rope skip just isn't super viable on UIM. Unless maybe you get like diamond necklaces or something from Temperos. It's kind of just annoying every raid. So I don't find any reason to do the full skip. Yeah, you just hit the ranger and then run to this tile. I just 3-shot that. I was not prepared. Yeah, you just hit ranger, run to this tile, hit ranger, run to this tile. Really simple. If you can't take damage from the mages, like if you're low on supplies or something, you can do the same where you just hit and run back to here. But you have to run farther into the hallway than this tile. It's like somewhere in the middle of the hallway. I'm not sure exactly where, but if you're in that position, just experiment. You'll figure it out. That should be good enough. Make sure you switch back to rapid. And then I put on my 2 protection prayers. I drop this over here. I put on my Elysian and my staff, and then I cross the rope. Yeah, typically this isn't too painful, and if you don't lose any ticks, you don't get hit the extra time. As long as you don't lose a tick here, they'll hit me 1 more time. Okay, tick ate that because I got scared. I got absolutely shredded on that recross. That is far more damage than you usually ever take, but even if you have to sip, it's like not that big a deal. I typically do just to be safe. go ahead and put on your melee gear, and then put on Piety and whatever it's called, protect from melee. I always just sit my enhance regardless when I come through here, because you're not going to bring it with you to Mutt, and you get a free prayer point back when you sip. I should mention the dragon pickaxe will save you, I think it's 23 seconds per raid. Also, I'm getting kind of shredded, so I'm just going to sip up for safety. Their max hit's like mid-20s, so just never be below that if you can. But yeah, I prefer using the rune pick over the dragon pick, because the dragon pick only saves like at most 30 seconds a raid, and it costs you an inventory space at Ulm and going into Mutt, which is kind of a big deal. And on top of that, the dragon pick weighs a bit more, so I'll be able to drop this pickaxe, because again, I'm running back to pick up my stuff. So I can drop the pickaxe and save some carry weight for Ulm, as well as Vasa and Mystics and whatnot. Now, if you're comfortable, maybe you have multiple dragon pickaxes for whatever reason, and you wouldn't mind losing one, like, feel free to use the dragon pick and just treat it like a rune pick. I'm not losing my dragon pickaxe. That was my least favorite item to go for, so I will absolutely refuse to lose that item. Yeah, I think the dragon pick matters more for lower mining levels. So if you have higher mining, then it's not that important to have the rune pick or the dragon pick. I usually try to venge around this point because there's a chance I don't lose it, and that gives me an extra venge for Vasa. Classic. Again, you can't do anything about the random hits from Guardians. They just sometimes want to poke you. And you can also choose to brew up before Vasa. Just get as high as HP as you can, because you'll deal like extra venge damage. I just don't really prefer doing that. I like to just keep as many brews as I can. Once you get to an even 15, wait like 2 seconds and then run in. The reasoning for this is you don't want to not be full stats here. So you'll see I barely get my stats back right when Vasa attacks. Make sure you're on rapid, make sure you're avenged. Click and run immediately away. Put on prey range as soon as you can. And you can get 4 hits on this first one, as long as you don't mess up. Get to the crystal as fast as you can. Put on your melee gear and claw spec once. Kill as fast as you can. Hope you hit. Same as like every boss. Put on your range gear. Revenge whenever you can. And I usually just try to sneak behind Vasa here. So like this, you can just sneak right behind. And now I know it's not going to go that direction. That way you don't get trampled like 100 times. And claw spec again. Terrible. It's usually pretty rare that you don't get the crystal. Sometimes it happens. But yeah, you should usually be able to get 2. I've maybe like 10% of the time you don't get it. It depends on the claws, really. So those were pretty bad, but you can see I still got it pretty easily. There's really no point to go to this crystal. I got the kill anyway. Nice, pretty fast. I take a glance at how much time I have left on my overload. If it's over a minute, I will chug my brews to get to full HP. Pick up both of these brews, sip the enhance, and then grab a twisted. If you're not comfortable on 5 brews for Ulm, then kill scabs. Especially if you left your axe. If you don't have an axe, you have to kill scabs. But if you're not comfortable on 5 brews, 1 restore, stay here until you get the supplies you need. Otherwise, head on into Mystics. This overload's going to heal me here in a sec, so that's why I wanted to pot up the Fool. And then just get them all meleeing on you. This green dude is in a really weird spot. Have to lure him out to get him in this safe spot. Should work, right? I think. Okay. That was a little scary. I wasn't sure. I like to organize here a bit. I'm going to be wearing the Sang, the BCP, the Occult, the Ellie, and the Saradomin Cape when I'm in Mudadile here in a sec. And then when this overload runs out, I like to sip the Twisted because I want to make sure that I have a full overload going in the Mutt. It's just helpful to be fully overloaded there. Though I will have plenty of time, I think, but I will sip the Twisted. And I usually drink the Overload when Mystics are like 1-ish left, like 1.3 Mystics left. I'll sip the Overload. Obviously, you can just sip the Overload right away, but sometimes these take forever to kill, and if they take too long to kill, your Overload will run out like during small Mutt, and it's really annoying. Also, if you're in a position where you have to brew, I usually sip the brew and then just suck it up and drink the Overload at that point. But it's not that common that you have to brew here. Yeah, once this guy gets a little bit below half, that's usually when I sip the Overload, because then you can start getting your health up to full. So that's a good timing. And I just sip every 15. You also need to pick up the Buchu seeds here. Obviously, you can no prep if you're comfortable with it, but again, these are for comfy raids. This is all about relaxed, not trying super hard. Okay, so I'm going to stand here and just let this guy walk to me. It's, again, don't want to get smacked. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab the Buchu seeds here as soon as I can. Pretty rare that he walks when you do that. Hopefully hit him soon, any second. There we go. Put on your maximum range tank gear. Put on Prey Range and Augury, and then head on in. Whenever Small Mutt is not attacking you, Prey Mage. Otherwise, Prey Range if he's far away, or Melee if he's in melee range. Whenever you get an XP drop on the tree, click on Small Mutt again, because you can just get a free hit. Use your Sang Staff if you have one, or your Bofa if you don't have a Sang. Otherwise, just Trident or Melee, whichever one you prefer. Okay, getting, like, destroyed. Sang Staff's healing, though, which is nice. I try not to drop below 60, because that's just death every time if you do. As you can see, I've currently made 0 mistakes, and I got dropped to like 20 HP there. This room is very unfair. It's incredibly poorly designed. And sometimes you just die for making no mistakes. Oop. Alright, there's the first mistake of the room. We have survived at least the tree cutting portion. I run over to this tile here, I drop the axe, and I Prey Range. And the reason for this is Big Mutt can't hit me now, and this guy will eventually, hopefully, melee and come over here. Does not appear to be the case, unfortunately. And then once I get the kill on small mutt, I like to pick up the enhance. Pray range for big mutt, pick up the enhance, sip the enhance, hit big mutt, take the mushrooms if you have space now, drop the enhance, drop your overload, then jump if you can, and then I put these two items next to each other because I'm going to start flicking my LE and my BCP. So whenever I'm not ranging, just put these on for the defense. And if you ever get low, just tick eat. Glad I had the Barrow's gloves on the whole time. Luckily the room was kind to me, so it did not die. And then from this pile, pick up everything. Drop the twisted at this point, and then head on into prep. If you have a 1 dose, or if you have enough restore, I sip this one down to 1 dose. You should usually have enough, and then organize as best you can while you're running through here. I usually drop just the pre-pot stuff, grab everything, and then plant. And then just kind of trying to organize while I run around. I'm going to go ahead and drop those items because I won't need them. And I just kind of drop the Revite and a couple brews over here. You should never need more than 6 vials. Sometimes you might need 7, I guess. But that's if you're making 2 restores, which is not super common. And then keep organizing. We got a little bit of time before this thing grows, so... You just go ahead and make... I only need to make 4 total brews because I had the extra one, so... I did not need to pick up the vial. I had 4 when I left Mutt. You'll just kind of get used to saving a bit of time at prep when you know that you don't need more. And then drink my overload, and I can just chug one of these brews because I have the extra one. You might not always have the extra brew, obviously, and then you wouldn't be able to chug while you run over. But if you have a Sang Staff, it barely matters because you'll heal up off of them. And then the final little bit of organization, just make sure everything's in like a place where you know where it is, otherwise it gets very trolly. And yeah, that should be pretty much it. Now it's just a regular Ohm that just does more damage. You should be pretty comfortable on these supplies with this kind of a setup. 7 brews is plenty for CM Ohm. Once you're used to it, I guess. Don't feel bad dropping at prep if you're not comfortable. Nice, click the tick early. Yeah, if you're not comfortable with these supplies, then just feel free to drop a couple items at the prep room. It's, again, not that big a deal, and you don't need to try super hard to save time. I used to drop my assembler for Ohm just because it's not like that useful, and I was using rune arrows, so I didn't care if I lost them. But yeah, it's really just a standard Ohm at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute up, and then I'll be back once Ohm is done. There's not really any tips to give for Ohm compared to what everyone already knows that solos. I should mention Olm's max hit is mid 40s, so you will need to tick heat in some of these situations where you're like 30 HP. So I tick ate a couple times there just because I was at like 30 and he was ranging. So you will have to tick heat a lot earlier than you might be used to, but I think it's like mid 40s for max hit, so just be safe around there. I will say I like to save one of my claw specs for killing the hand here at the end. It just makes it a lot more consistent. Even if you missed hammers, it's nice to have the claws. Right. And then once you finally get your kill, you just grab your drop and then run back all the way upstairs and pick up your stuff. It's not too long. I think it's about 3 minutes a raid that it adds, but it just makes it so much more consistent that it is nice to have. Yeah, let's go ahead and drop everything. I'm not going to use either of these drops, so I'm just going to drop them over to my main, but I'm going to show the re-gear process at the end as well. So I'll show like what it would look like if I were to like bag these items, for example. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and be back once I'm all the way back upstairs. Make sure you don't forget your pickaxe when you're at Vasa, obviously. I forget that all the time. If you ever forget one, just grab 32k from your coffer and take your, what do you call it? Your jewelry box to the mining guild. That will get you your pickaxe back. Normally I sip the dose of stamina when I'm running back, but I kind of don't want to sip it. I'm getting a little bit low on stams, so I'm gonna just walk this little bit through Vanguards, basically. I usually try to use 10 doses per raid. That's kind of what I have budgeted for CM, so I had to use an extra dose there because the Ulm head was kind of scuffed. It was a much slower head phase than standard. I probably mentioned earlier that the anti-poison that you can get that I'm using for this is good for lasting you for 4 raids usually. However, I'm going to not pick it up so that I can show the route if you don't have this. But if you have it, then you can just obviously, you know, skip it. Alright, and then once you're back, pick up your items and hop worlds or log out. I like to organize here just to make absolutely sure that I don't forget something. So this is what my inventory normally looks like when I'm done with a raid. And then you just log out. And once you log out, log back in. I'm just triple checking my brain. I wasn't sure if I was gonna show my login there. It wasn't positive. Okay. So yeah, once you log back in, there's several methods that you can do. The first method that you can do is the method I do with construction cape. It makes it the easiest by far. Farming cape is totally fine, and then the only other viable option really is just using the achievement diary cape as a budget construction cape. But that's a little bit scuffed for getting the anti-poison. I highly suggest using either the cons cape or the farm cape for this, or max cape will obviously work too. If you have a farming cape, you're going to want to put your house in Brimhaven, and with the cons cape, it doesn't matter where you have your house. And if you're doing any other method, so like the rimming, or the, what do you call it, the achievement diary cape or something like that, you'll want to put your house in, obviously, Relica, because that's how you get back to your house with the diary cape. But with the construction cape, it's real simple. I just teleport to my house. House tabs work too, of course. House tabs would be the easiest way to do this. I grabbed 1,500 coins from the coffer. And then after I grab the coins, I teleport to the Brimhaven teleport. I'm too lazy to log in my main, but if I did, I have my main sitting here, and I just drop the items I don't care about over to the main. I really don't care about these, so I'm just going to drop them. And then I pick up 1 pineapple while I'm running through. And trade this NPC for a knife, and then 2 anti-poisons. So anti-poison, anti-poison, knife. And then after you do that, teleport back to POH. If you had anything to bag, just go to Ferox and then teleport back. I have nothing to bag. So I just go to the Warriors Guild. And then while I'm running through here, I just decant this. Drop the 2 dose because I won't need it. Cut my pineapple. And then run in here, and I just drop the cape and these 2 items so that I can buy 4 pizzas and make them all at once. And then drop the coins. I don't need them anymore. And that's all there is to it. Now I just have to unnote my stamina, and I am all prepped for the next raid. So really fast to prep, especially with the construction cape. It's a bit slower with the farming cape. If you do have the farming cape, I highly suggest that you just put your your plot in the farming guild to just be pineapples, it makes it really easy because you can just grab your pineapple there and then you don't have to worry as much about getting the pineapple, which is kind of awkward for the pizzas. The venge damage is really crucial though. Like, it helps a lot being able to get the extra, was it 16 or 18 HP off of tech? So it is probably worth the investment. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. And you just get your pots out. And I am all set once again to pre-pot for CM. Yeah, that's the most consistent method I found for doing challenge mode. There's probably faster ways and like faster averages and whatnot, but I honestly feel like doing it like this, it's under an hour per raid pretty comfortably. I think overall it's like 55 minutes per raid on average, so even with the re-gearing and whatnot. So it ends up being pretty decent points an hour. It's like 60 to 65k, which is more than most UIM soloing tends to get, but obviously I have pretty good gear, so my points are a little bit faster because the raids themselves are faster. But I hope that was helpful. And if you have anything to add, just let me know, and I might edit the video or remake it, because I do want to have kind of a helpful guide for people learning CM on Ultimate, because it's really good content. It's just really hard to get into if you aren't used to it. But yeah, later. Hope it was helpful.